So when you have a fraction exponent, you have a radical. Your top number in your fraction, or your numerator, I should say that. Your numerator is the exponent that goes on your variable under the radical. And your denominator, that's a b, your denominator is the root that you should use in your radical. So that's the first thing I'm going to do here is rewrite x to the 5/2 as the square root, you don't have to put a 2 there, of x to the 5th power. So again, numerator is the exponent that goes on your variable under the radical. The denominator is the root that you're talking about. Okay, so now, is my radical alone? No, it's not. It's being multiplied by 1/2. How do I get rid of that multiplying by 1/2? Multiply by 2. Okay, so then that goes away. I've got the square root of x to the 5th equals 32. Raise both sides to the 2nd power. So x to the 5th equals 1024. Take the 5th root of both sides. I want to show you how to do that with this calculator. The 5th root, remember, is 5 second x root, and then 1024, and that answer is 4. So x is 4. And if I raise 4 to the 5th power, I get 256, the square of 256. Is that right? Might be wrong. No, I get 1024, sorry. 1024, the square root of 1024. That's not a perfect square. 4 to the 5th power. Then the square root of that. And then times it by 1/2. Hold on. That's right. Times it by 1/2. That's right. Yep. That is the correct answer. Okay. Moving on to number 12, I need to rewrite this as the cube root of 6x plus 10 to the 7th power. Remember, the denominator is your root. The numerator is the power you raise the base to. I'm going to subtract 28 to the other side. The cube root of 6x plus 10 to the 7th power is going to be 128. I'm going to cube both sides to get rid of that. So that is 2,097,152 equals 6x plus 10 to the 7th power. I'm going to take the 7th root of both sides. The 7th root of 2,097,152 is 8. So 6x plus 10 equals 8. I'm going to subtract 10. 6x equals -2. Divide by 6, x equals -1/3. We're going to say that's the answer. Okay, now 13, 14, and 15 are inequalities. The first thing I have to know and decide is this. And let me highlight. This value here has to be positive. So no matter what I get, I also have to include that that has to be positive. I have to ensure. So I know that no matter what I get here, x minus 1 has to be greater than 0. If I add 1 to both sides, x has to be greater than 0 for sure. And then I have to adjust it from there. If I end up with something that is less than 0, like if I end up with x is less than -5, then this would not be possible because x has to be greater than 0. For this one, 2/3 x plus 1 has to be greater than 0. So 2/3 x has to be greater than -1 because I subtracted 1. Multiply both sides by 3/2, so x has to be greater than -3/2. And then this last one, 3/4 x has to be greater than 0. Multiply both sides by 4/3. X has to be greater than 0. So I'll look at that when I'm finished solving. You solve the same way we were solving the other ones. I found some mistakes on these two problems, so I'm going to have to redo them. Please forgive me, I'm going to have to hold my iPad as I record. Up here's where my first mistake was at. When I added 1 to both sides, I left it as 0. So x is going to be greater than or equal to 1. That's my stipulation. Since this is an even root, this has to be greater than or equal to 1. So then I'm going to get my radical alone. Subtract 3 first. Divide by -4. You can see my work underneath there. I've got the square root of x minus 1 is less than or equal to, because I divided by a negative, less than or equal to 1. I'm going to square both sides. So x minus 1 is going to be less than or equal to 1. I'm going to add 1 to both sides. So I got x is less than or equal to 2. Okay, so including this stipulation up here, I'm going to have that x is between 1, I had 0 before, between 1 and 2. That's my solution. The answers that will satisfy this inequality up here are between any numbers between 1 and 2. Okay, now to do this next one, I made the mistake of talking about what's under here, but I'm glad I did it anyway. It's okay. Made a mistake. It helps for other people to learn from our mistakes, hopefully. So I have to remember, and I forgot momentarily, that what's under the radical, the value that's under the radical, only matters when this is an even root. So I really didn't even have to think about it at all when I did this work over here. I don't have to think about it at all because this is an odd root. So you can have a negative number under here. So all I have to do is just raise both sides to the third power. I would get 2/3 x, my pencil's not working very well, 2/3 x plus 1 is less than 216. I'd subtract 1 from both sides. So 2/3 x is less than 215. I'd multiply both sides by 3. So 2x is less than 645. Divide by 2. X is less than 322.5. That is the answer to number 14. Now let's do this one. I'm going to add 39. So 2 times the square root of 5, that's 3/4. 3/4 x is going to be less than or equal to, is that 14? Multiply both sides by 2. The square root of 3/4 x is going to be less than or equal to 28. Square both sides. 3/4 x is going to be less than or equal to whatever 28 times 28 is. 784. I'm going to multiply by 4. Oh, not equal. Less than or equal to 16. Is that it? Let me just check myself. Yes. Then divide by 3. So that's going to be, x is going to be less than or equal to 1045 1/3. And it has to be greater than or equal to 0. I don't know if you can see that. Nope. One more. The last one's a word problem, as you well know because you have your book there. Let me read it to you really quickly. It says, in basketball, the term hang time is the amount of time that a player is suspended in the air when making a basket. To win a slam dunk contest, players try to maximize their hang time. A player's hang time is given by this equation, where T is the time in seconds and H is the height in feet. And of the jump. The second place finisher of a slam dunk contest had a hang time of 1 second. Oh, it would be here. Hang time of 1 second. And the winner had a hang time of 1.2 seconds. How many feet higher did the winner jump than the second place finisher? So winner, second place. Okay, so hang time for the winner was 1.2 seconds. Okay, I'm going to divide both sides by 0.5, which would be 2.4, I do believe. That, yes, is 2.4. Square both sides. You get 5.76, so the height is 5.76 feet. That's for the winner. Second place person, their hang time was 1 second. Divide by 1/2, you would have 2, I do believe. 1 divided by 1/2 is 2, so 2 is going to equal the square root of h, square both sides. H is going to be 4 feet. Now, that's not the answer to the question. How many feet higher did the winner jump than the second place finisher? So 5.76 minus 4.00. How many feet higher? 0.76 feet, which is about 3/4 of a foot. 3/4 of a foot, which is about what? We don't need to know this. This is the answer. That's how much higher. 3/4 of a foot, is that 8 inches? About 8 inches higher. But that's all you needed to know is 0.76 feet. That will conclude solving radical equations and inequalities.